Porsche K9. Evening all. Evening. I have gone upright to see if that improves the chat this time. But we are live. We are live for anyone who wants to come in, say hello, ask questions, chat about something, see what's going on with the dog handling world. So yeah, if you got any questions, want to say hello or do whatever, then down in the chat box is where you can do that. Buongiorno. I'm not saying that one, Jack. Chip King. Hi all, I hope you're good. I am back at work after my week off. Went away to Bulgaria for a week and now I am back. First night shift back on. Had a bit of trouble with the time difference. Landscape is better, mate. I know landscape is better, but the actual chat works. The actual chat works better this way. This light is doing my head in already. It's not flashing. But the chat actually works better this way. I know it's not ideal, but maybe if you just lay on your side and turn your phone on its side, then I'll be landscape for you. But yeah, I had a bit of trouble with the time difference. So Bulgaria's 2 hours in front. So even though I tried to get as much sleep as I could today, I ended up waking up at 10:30. And I won't be going back to sleep till about 7:30 tomorrow. So it's going to be a pretty lengthy day, all in all. But I did have things I had to do as well because of the timing that we got back yesterday. I had to do the food shop today, run errands, go and see my mum, go and see Prestige, all that before getting back and then getting ready for work. So Strike Thunder, Sunny Beach, living the dream. It wasn't Sunny Beach. Sunny Beach is quite the place. I think they've done some programs about Sunny Beach. Funnily enough, when I go there, when I go to Bulgaria, normally for the summer, when we go and see Ada's mum and dad, we go to Sozopol, which is not that far away from Sunny Beach, but Sozopol is where all of the Bulgarians and the Russians go because it's nicer, and it hasn't got as many English in it. So yeah, Sunny Beach is nice, but this one was going to Ada's mum and dad. Went to go mum and dad. Ada's best friend's mum is a dressmaker and she's making Ada's dress, so she had to go there and get measured up and start putting in getting the dress together. So it was more for that, and we did go and stay at a spa for 2 or 3 days, which you can imagine was more of the girls planning than mine, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. It's the first time I've really been to a spa, and I didn't get a massage off Igor, but yeah, it was really nice, like chilling out in the pool, the hot tub, steam rooms, saunas, different things like that. This light is doing my head in already. Chip King, Graham just set up all the equipment for the new training ground, just waiting to finalise a few things. Yeah, I saw Graham. So I went to Terry's last session. So for people that don't know, Terry has retired now. So I went to Terry's last session. I saw Graham there and I spoke to him about like what's going to happen, etc. So I am seeing where that goes, because obviously now that Terry has retired, I do need to find a new trainer, and I've got a couple of ideas. But Jack, earning too much, mate. The good thing about going to Bulgaria is we stay with her parents, so it only costs me the flights really, and then the spa's interesting. So we went for 2 nights, so sort of 3 days ish, or 2.5 days. So 2 nights, 2.5 days, and it cost about 400 lev a couple, like a 4-star spa, which was really nice. So 400 lev is about 180 quid. I think it's about 2.5 lev to the pound. So the good thing about going to Bulgaria is that on Bulgarian wages and things like that, it's actually quite expensive. But once you convert it to our sort of money and our sort of wages, it's really cheap for us. I think there was one night where there was 4 of us. I think one had a starter, we all had a main, and I think 3 of us had a dessert. There was a bottle of wine, a few cokes and things like that, and I think it ended up costing 80 lev, or was it 80 lev a couple? No, it was 80 lev a couple, which is about 40 quid, give or take. So yeah, it's once you go to Bulgaria and you convert our wages and our money into theirs, it's really dirt cheap for us. But obviously in Bulgaria with their wages, it's quite expensive. So actually going there, you can go and have a really nice holiday and stay somewhere really nice for next to nothing. Earning too much, yeah. Towards the end of the shift, the dog will be handling you and take you for a walk. Now, well, an interesting thing tonight is I turned up tonight and my normal guy that I swap shifts with is on the mobile due to one of the mobile team having a baby, and I turned up to do my shift tonight, and the handler that I was taking over from is on in the morning, so he's actually staying here. So it's quite a small site, so there's not a lot of room for both of us. So I'm still obviously going to patrol, but there is 2 of us here now, so I obviously need to be a little bit wary. But yeah, it's an interesting thing having someone else. So it's happened to me 2 or 3 times where someone said, "Oh, I'm going to stay on tonight." But yeah, I've got someone staying with me tonight, and like I say, there's only how far is that? 50 yard by 40 yard square that we're in, so we're quite on top of each other at the moment. So towards the end of the night, yeah. But yeah, he probably will be taking me for a walk because I'll be absolutely dead by the end of this. But also, if he's staying the night and he wakes up at 5 o'clock, he might just turn around to me and say, "Go on, get on." I've had that before where I stayed on site and one of them's woke up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He's like, "You might as well just go because I'm up and about now." Get some Zeds at work? I don't think so. Well, definitely not when someone else is staying on site. I'll do my best not to fall asleep. Everyone knows that I try my best not to fall asleep. Never say never. It's never say you've never fallen asleep, because if you say that you're a dog handler and you've never fallen asleep, you're probably lying. But definitely, if you're working alongside someone, you don't want to be a TikTok, or you don't want to be a video going around of a handler that's asleep at work. So he's agreed to come back once a month for CT training. Oh, is that Terry? Yeah, I did hear that he was going to try and get Terry to come back once a month to come and do CT. Jack, you got any signs, mate? I assume you mean the cage signs. Yeah, I think I've got 3 or 4. In the van somewhere. I think they're in a bag in the back somewhere. But yeah, I've definitely got a couple at least. Porsche K9, what's the best piece of equipment that you've got that makes your job easier? What's the best piece of well, other than the dog, that makes my job very easy. Well, I say that after a week of staying with my mum and dad, it has been a little bit of a nightmare. And I think I've heard this before. Where people have given their dogs to kennels and that, gone away for a week, come back, and the dog's been doing whatever it wants for a week, and then he comes back and he's still in holiday mode, and you need to crack him in and say, "Hold on, remember what we do." But the best piece of equipment that I've got that makes my job easier, in terms of just me myself, Jack, same bank details I'll have to. Yep, same bank details, mate. In terms of the job, I would say the extension lead and the £15 Amazon heater So I've got my extension lead that goes to a plug socket, I've got my heater, therefore when it is cold like now, or when it gets down to 1 to minus degrees, I can still keep the van at a t-shirt stroke jumper weather. That's probably the best piece of equipment that makes my job easier, because I don't think there's anything worse than sitting in a van that is minus 2 degrees and you can't feel your toes, you can't feel your hands, and you've got to sit there for 12 hours. So in terms of making my job easier, that makes my job easier because I can just walk around and I'll feel warm when I get out. And then of course when you're walking around, you keep yourself warm by getting all the blood circulating, etc. So I think in terms of doing the job, because I think that being in the van for 12 hours, obviously getting out doing your patrols and that, but I think in terms of sitting in the van, that is part of the job, and staying alert and obviously staying in the best possible condition you can be in. This, I'd say that the extension lead and the 15-pound heater makes my job a hell of a lot easier, and makes me a lot happier as well, because when I first started and in other times as well, I have been out when it's snowing and all I have is a blanket to try and keep me warm, and it doesn't keep me warm. So and then I don't hate the job. I'd never say I really hate the job, but that does make me to test the job a little bit. But yeah, other than that, what have I got in here that makes my job easier? Makes my job easier. Maybe a good pair of boots. So a good pair of boots. I'm wearing my trainer boots at the moment because this site is like tarmac, so there's not a lot of mud and things and that around. But a good pair of boots with decent soles on them. So the site that most of you probably will know me on was that building site where I was all on gravel, etc. And what I did find is that when I was in these trainer boots at the start, I'll be walking around and I'll be slipping, or my feet would slip off rocks, and I've got some Hakes boots, and then I put them Hakes boots on, and all of a sudden I stop slipping, where the sole is much better. The sole is a bit grippier as well, so in terms of just walking around, I stopped slipping around as much because I had a decent boot with a decent sole on it. So I think that's probably the best, one of the best pieces of equipment I've got that makes my job easier, because if you can go and walk and you can keep your feet dry, keep your feet reasonably warm, and you're not slipping around all over the place, that obviously makes your job a lot easier, because you're not worrying about having to step on certain things in case you slip. Cold nights, sharing a sleeping bag, body heat purposes only. What, me and the dog sharing a sleeping bag. Same bank account, yeah, same bank account. Keeping my feet dry and keeping dry is my priority. Horrible when you get wet and cold, yeah. And like I say, I think again, when you're sitting in the van and it's really cold, or it's in minus conditions, and obviously the van starts freezing up as well, your feet, your toes start getting pins and needles where you can't feel your toes, etc. I think that is one of the priorities. And like I say, even just having this heater, it also stops the van from icing up, etc. as well. So in terms of when I'm ready to go in the morning, I can just go. I haven't got to de-ice the van or anything like that. So not only does it keep the van warm, but it also keeps the windows clear. So obviously I can see out all the time. I don't have to de-ice it when I go. So I think in terms of the job as a whole, the best piece of equipment is definitely the extension lead and a 15-pound heater. That 15-pound heater has been with me for 2 years, still going strong. Obviously don't use it in the summer, but still going strong. And like I say, for 15 quid, I don't think you can moan at it. Yeah, definitely heater makes it more bearable at this time of year. Yeah, like I say, I've also got, if I don't have a plug socket around, I also do have an electric blanket that's USB that I can plug into my Bluetti. I suppose Bluetti makes my job easier as well, because it obviously just gives me power to the van, even if I don't have a plug socket. So in terms of being able to charge stuff up, or if my phone's running out of battery, being able to plug that in. The Bluetti, but it doesn't. It's not an essential thing because you can have backup, you can have power banks, etc. But yeah, even with like the Bluetti, if I don't have a plug socket, I do have an electric blanket that I can plug into that. That it will use a whole charge of a Bluetti through a whole shift, but it does make it bearable. But I'd say just keeping warm and being able to want to do the work, rather than if it is like -2, thinking yourself, I've got another 4 nights of sitting in this freezing cold, is quite demoralising. Send it across, mate. We'll send address again soon. Yeah, no worries, mate. I'll get them out to you possibly Friday if I don't get a chance before. I'll get them out Friday if not before. Oh, but yeah, it's been a good week. One of the negative things that did happen whilst I was away. So whenever I've gone away, I've always given Cooper to my mum and dad, and they've looked after him. And this was the first trip away where I gave Cooper and Ollie to my mum and dad. And there's something happening with my mum at the moment, which hasn't been diagnosed yet, but it makes having the dogs hard work for my dad. So I think I've got an issue where my dad can't have both dogs together at the same time, as well as look after my mum. So one of the negative things is that I can probably give them Cooper because he's a little bit better behaved, but Ollie is just a whirlwind, and he's driven my dad in circles for a week, and my dad said he was mentally and physically exhausted after that week. So I think going forwards, I mean, I've not got any planned trips away of a decent length until maybe July next year for the honeymoon. So one of the negative things is that when I go away now, is that I am probably have to either put both dogs in the kennels, or Cooper goes to my mum and dad and Ollie goes somewhere else, because like I say, it's not possible. So I think that is something to obviously keep in mind when you come into this job, is that if you're going to go away, you need to be able to give the dog to someone that knows what they're doing, or you need to be able to have a kennels that will understand your dog or take your dog in. And again, I think this is why obviously the protection side is very important, but having a sociable dog is also very important, that you can give your dog to someone else or to a kennels, and they're going to be able to handle, and the dog's not going to be too bite driven. Because I think I could give Coop to my mum and dad. I think I could give Coop to a kennels, and he'll be absolutely fine. Now, the only problem that I can foresee in that is that if I've never put Coop in a kennels where there's other dogs riling him up. Now, when we're at training and the other dogs are barking, Cooper gets rolled up. So when I get Coop out of the van, he is already barking. He's already alerted to everyone that's around him. So one of the issues that I would have to see is that if I put him in a kennels, would the other dogs rile him up, that he would be unpredictable to get out? I think probably not. I think that once Coop understands that the person coming to the gate means that he's going out to go and play ball or whatever it is, I think he'll be fine. But that is kind of an unknown. So, but yeah, I think what I'll have to try and do is maybe give Cooper to my mum and dad, because Cooper's a really easy dog, to be fair, to look after, especially with the land that they've got. They can just open the door and he'll be running around out there all day. The problem is with Ollie is he's a little bit of an escape artist. There was one day that he got out, and he does go around a little bit. Like, my dad was out searching for Ollie for about half an hour, and my mum had locked Ollie in another room, and because Ollie's a bit of a mute, he doesn't bark, he just paws at the door, and because of that, no one knew where Ollie was. My dad was out looking for him for about half an hour, and then it turns out that he had got locked in another room because he had snuck into a room and then someone had shut the door. So Ollie is a little bit like that. He's a bit of an escape artist, that he will slide under a gate or something like that and run around for a bit, or he will go into a room. And he has got still a little bit of a habit. Just before I went away, he has still got a little bit of a habit that he chewed the arms of my Ray-Bans. And he ripped the case of my Ray-Bans up that was on the side. He managed to get it, and he ripped the case of my Ray-Bans up and chewed one of the arms down to literally like a nub about this bit. So he has still got that little side in him as well. So Ollie's not the easiest dog. Especially if he's getting bored or he's not getting enough, he's not being able to express enough. He can become a little bit naughty, a bit of an escape artist, or he will start trying to find something to do. Don't go to sleep, but have a fluffy pillow, electric blanket and nightlight, all for the doggy welfare. Yeah, I don't go to sleep, but I do keep myself warm so it's nice and cozy. I do have a blanket and a pillow. I do have a pillow. I think that might be in one of the boxes in the back. I did have a pillow in my old van because it was like not a sports seat, but it was like a normal sort of van seat. But because the sides sort of come in a little bit, I would have to maybe sit at an angle, or I'll put it behind my head or at the bottom of my back, just because if you're sitting in a certain position for a little bit, sometimes it can become a little bit uncomfortable. So I have got a pillow that I used to put behind my back or behind my head, just so that I kept my spine in a decent shape and I wasn't twisting or going too far back. You know what I mean? Was Cooper vocal towards other dogs in his puppy stage? Just my 9-month is very vocal but not aggressive, but that puts everyone coming close. Bit difficult when you're trying to socialise her. Now that would Cooper's still vocal now, and it's not aggression. It's, what's the word? Frustration. So Cooper will be vocal at other dogs if they're playing ball and we're not, because Cooper wants to play ball, and it's through frustration that he will bark. He won't bark at any dogs that are just walking past. He won't bark at any dogs that come up close to him, but he will bark at dogs that are running after a ball or whatever it is, and it's due to frustration. And the only dogs I've seen him bark at that aren't are big dogs that have barked at him. Little dogs barking at him, he doesn't care. But big dogs that are reasonably close that bark at him, he will bark back in defence. But in terms of a dog barking, it's probably going to be frustration. And if you do go over to them and you meet, don't hold me to this. Obviously, test it. Obviously, you know your dog better. But it's probably likely that once your dog meets the other dog, he'll stop barking, because it's just a frustration thing of, hey, I want to meet you, hey, I want to meet you. And because you're on a lead and he can't get there, he's just shouting, I'm okay, I want to come and play. But obviously, then people are thinking, well, that dog's barking at us, we'll stay away. And possibly, I'm not saying it is, but if the dog's barking, you're probably nervous about going over, and you're sending that nervous energy down the lead to the dog. And I'd say it's probably frustration. I've always said, look, I'm not a dog trainer, but that is what happens with Coop. He's not necessarily barking at a dog chasing a ball because it's aggression. It's, I want to go and chase that ball, I want to go and get that ball, and that's the frustration bit. So the likelihood is that if your 9-month-old is barking, is very vocal other dogs, but it's not aggressive, it's frustration that he wants to go and say hello, but the other people are walking off because they're scared, or because you're not going over towards them. The dog is trying to say, hi, I want to say hello, I'm friendly. She barks at her reflection until she realises yeah, that's what happens. Soon as she meets, she's fine. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not, as you said, it's not aggression, it's just frustration. But understandably, you can say understandably, if someone's got a Yorkshire Terrier, a Labrador, a Spaniel, and there's a German Shepherd across the park barking, they're probably thinking that dog is aggressive. So it's kind of one of them things that you have to kind of go up and meet these people and just say, look, it's just frustration, it's not aggression, the dog's fine. And then maybe just get in. I know that there's, if you go to certain parks at certain times, a lot of the same people walking their dogs. That's kind of what I did with Coop when he was kind of a puppy. I'll go to a park maybe 4 or 5 times at one time, and I'd see if there was certain people there at the same time, 3 or 4 of them times. So I'd say, right, if I can get a bit pally with them, I know if I go down to the park at 5:15, I know that all these certain people are going to be walking their dogs after work. And like I say, you get a bit pally with them, and then hopefully then they start to understand, look, your dog's not aggressive. They start to understand your dog's not aggressive, and then if they are in the park and they've got friends in the park and they say, oh, someone says, oh, there was this aggressive German Shepherd, they say, oh no, he's not, he's actually really friendly, it's just frustration. And then maybe next time you go to the park, there'll be someone else that comes over and they say, oh, I thought your dog was aggressive, etc. I feel like I rambled on. I feel like I got through that, but I did ramble on a little bit, and I've just seen someone call me a dipshit because they're watching. Oh. Is that light? That light still works. Tomorrow, showers 70%, high of 13 degrees. Apparently it's quite cold last week. But it's reasonably mild now. In Bulgaria, I think it was about 20, 22, 25, I think, one day. And then they're going to get smashed on with snow next week. So I actually picked that rather well. But yeah, apparently it was really cold here last week, so I was happy that I missed that. This light is doing my head in. But yeah, I think it's important to understand and maybe get your point over to people about difference between aggression and frustration. I've seen, not say, when there's big dogs. I think there was one in a video once. There was a German Shepherd. And Coop and the German Shepherd met, and they was reasonably fine. And I don't know. I'm not a great dog behaviourist, but I just saw something, and I said because Ada had Cooper, and the other guy had his dog, and I just said, right, that's it. It's been reasonably friendly. I said, right, split them up, we'll go this way, you go that way. And as soon as the dogs went away, his dog barked at Coop, and then Coop went into full defence. So that's the only time I've really seen Cooper do aggression. But because of the dog that Cooper is, sometimes his frustration bark can obviously look aggressive because he has been taught to look aggressive or to be reasonably aggressive when he does the bark. So I think a lot of people are scared of Coop if they see him. If I go to football. So for argument's sake, there's one dog. Whenever I go, there's a football team sometimes I used to go and watch on a Sunday, and Coop would be there, and he'd be happy with everyone. I'll take him for walks around the pitch. Although Cooper's really into tennis balls, that kind of thing, I managed to keep him away from football, so I can actually take him to a game of football and he's not interested on the football on the pitch. And I've never had any issues there. He's fine with everyone coming up and saying hello. But there's one bloke who always brought his little white dog, and I could walk past that dog. Coop would say hello, they'd have a sniff, and then I'd walk off. And then he would get a launcher and he'd throw the ball for his dog, and Cooper would lose his mind. and everyone sort of turns around and like, oh, this dog is a little bit. But as soon as they're finished and he puts the dog on lead, I walk back past, 2 dogs say hello, they have a sniff of each other, and we just walk on. Do you teach Cooper cues in a foreign language? Just seen handler use Flemish or something else with newly trained dogs, so if on site and anything happens, no one else can shout the usual commands. I don't, to be honest. I know that there are people that do German. I know that there are people that obviously handlers that don't speak English or working in this country that are from abroad. They obviously speak to their dogs in their native tongue or their language. I don't, because to be honest, someone's just messaged me outside this saying, yes, you teach him Cockney. No, I don't, to be honest. And the reason that I haven't is obviously when I first put in all of his commands, I just used English anyway. And when I've been at training, I've actually tried getting the decoy to shout commands and that whilst he's obviously doing the aggressive behaviour, to see what would happen, and Coop couldn't give 2 flying Fs what that person's doing, because Coop goes on body language. And even when I've got Coop in the back of the van, so when I've got Coop in the back of the van and someone opens up the back door, I've had people, I said, look, can you go and open up the back door, say his name, say hello to him and see what happens. And I open up the back door and Coop starts going, and they've called him by his name, they've asked him to stop, they've told him to lay, and he couldn't give 2 flying Fs what you've got to say. So it depends, but because Coop doesn't listen to anyone else, and especially if he doesn't know who you are, he will not listen to anything that you've got to say. That's why I haven't. Now, if you did have a dog that maybe would listen to someone else, then maybe you would. But the sole reason that I don't is that I've asked people to try and be nice to Coop when he's in work situations. And you have to kind of stress that as work situations. So whether that's at training, whether that's on site, whatever it is, in a work situation, I've asked people to say, to give him commands or try and be nice to him or whatever it is, and see how he reacted. And his reaction is, I don't know who you are, I'm not listening to what you've got to say. In a home situation, I've said to people, in a home situation, can you ask him to do this, can you ask him to do that, and see what he does. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't, but at home he does listen a little bit more. But in work situations that I've put him in, whether at training or on site, where I've asked people to be nice to him, he will go on body language and what he perceives to be the threat level. So if you're waving your arms and you're being nice to him, all he sees is you waving arms at him. So then what you'd also say to that, well, if someone comes on site and they're not waving their arms, they're not being aggressive towards you, but they're being nice to him and they're giving him commands, well, that person's not a threat to me. That person, that on a body cam situation, that person is not becoming a threat to me. So it kind of differs in that, is that you have to think about what that would look like on a body cam. Even if someone is trying to give your dog commands and they're not being aggressive, the only time that I can really use my dog is when they come to attack me, or when they're putting me in danger. So in one way, them being able to be calm and my dog be calm is okay. But yeah, I think most other than Cockney, I haven't taught him in any other language. But a lot of Cooper's training has been on a decoy's body language rather than me giving commands, because there's certain times in certain protection work where I've asked Coop to hold, or I've sent him in to bite on the sleeve. But then there's been plenty of times where someone's run at me and Cooper's gone on for a bite there before I've managed to say it, because they've got into our zone before I can get the words out. So a lot of Cooper's training has been on body language. Therefore, when I've done some sends, I've done some sends where I send him in and someone sticks their arm out in front and Cooper goes on. But I've also sent him in where a decoy has just put his hands behind his back. He's got a sleeve on, but he just puts his hands behind his back, and Coop won't go in for a bite there, but he'll sit and he'll bark next to the person with the sleeve, because his training has mainly been on body language rather than a command. Because, like I said, if in a CCTV or body cam situation, if you send your dog in and they all of a sudden just put their arms down by their side, you've got to be able to stop your dog from doing that. If they do that last second, if they do that last second and you haven't got time to call your dog off, let's say, I'm not saying you're going to send your dog off lead, but let's say last second they put their arms down to the side and you haven't got time to call the dog off. If the dog realised quickly before he went in for the bite that that person's put his arms down, I don't need to do the bite, that's going to be good for your body cam. If they put their arms down by the side and the dog nails them in the stomach, it's not going to do that great. So somewhere in there is, no, I haven't taught him in another language. The main language that I've taught Cooper in commands has always been the decoy's body language towards us. Push K9, my dog won't do it for me, so good luck in someone else coming on site and trying. Yeah, like I say, Cooper, I've always said this about Cooper, is that Cooper is a nice dog. If in the right environment, I can just let him out, he'll just trot around, people can say hello to him. He doesn't dislike people, he just tolerates them. Like there's lots of times where I've been at my mum and dad's and people have come round, and on the original meet he gives a bit of a warning, and then I say, right, they come in, and then Cooper just walks around, he'll come up, have a head stroke, and then he'll walk off. If they call him over and he wants to go and play with his ball, he'll just get his ball and go and walk over there. And so he kind of tolerates people. He doesn't dislike anyone, but he doesn't really like anyone either, to be honest. I wouldn't say, like, me and him have obviously got a certain bond from doing this job and a certain bond from doing training, and in the right environment he understands that certain people are the enemy against me and him, etc. But Cooper is quite an individual dog. Like, he will quite happily just go off into another room and go and lay in there for 2-3 hours, and then he'll come in, make sure that me and the missus are still sitting on the sofa watching the TV, and then he'll just go and lay on the floor over there. Like, he's not a needy dog. He doesn't, unlike Ollie, who has to be up against someone's leg having to sleep on the sofa, or he likes to sleep, or he likes to sit slumped up against someone. Cooper's not like that. I'd say probably in a week, I would say 3 or 4 times Coop will sit up on the sofa with us and sort of have a little sleep on the sofa with us. But Cooper's not a needy dog. He doesn't need to come and say hello to you. He doesn't need you to go and say hello to him. If you want to go over there and play ball with him, different situation. But yeah, the likelihood of Cooper listening to someone else when Cooper's got his own agenda is probably unlikely. In an ideal situation, shouldn't you always be able to see where your dog is going, i.e. patrolling and accidentally finding, say, young people or homeless person sleeping rough, as you wouldn't want him biting with your command? So let me read that again. In an ideal situation, shouldn't you always be able to see where your dog is going, i.e. patrolling? So in terms of patrolling, it should always be on a lead. That lead should be about 6 foot. If we're going by if we're going by the book, the lead should be 6 foot long, and the dog should be on a lead at all times. Therefore, you should be able to see, unless you can't see 7 foot in front of you, you should be able to see where your dog is going at all times. In terms of accidentally finding, say, young people or a homeless person, if you stumble across someone that the dog can bite before you realise they're there, you're probably walking too close to corners, so that if there was someone around the corner with a pipe or an hammer, that they could hit you before you realise that they're even there. So you're either walking too close to corners, walking too close to doorways. If it's that dark, you should, and if it's that dark, your dog should alert you before you walk up on someone. But if it is that dark, maybe you just have a low level light that you use to shine 10 foot in front of you, etc. Obviously, if you're working on a site where you don't want people to be able to see where you are, then obviously you might not use a torch. But if it's walking through an area with corners, with doorways, you should be walking far enough away that you should give yourself time. If someone comes out of a doorway or out from around the corner, you should be able to give yourself time to react to that. You shouldn't be walking too close to them. But if it is that dark, use a torch. If someone knows where you are, all right, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. If you're walking down let's say the site, the pathway is 10 foot wide, and you've got doors on your left, doors on your right. You walk bang down the middle, dog at the end of the lead, so that if either side gives you, your dogs can fan either side if he needs to. But yeah, you shouldn't be really walking up on people where the dog should be close enough to bite, unless they run at you. If they run at you, then okay, the dog's reaction time. But if someone just walks out of a doorway, you shouldn't be close enough where the dog should bite you, because like I say, you're too close to that doorway that if someone walked out and wanted to hit you with something, they probably could before the dog or you could even react to it. So yeah, it should be the dog should be on a lead anyway, and it should be 6 foot. So unless you can't see 7 foot in front of you, you should be able to see where the dog is anyway, and the dog will always give you the earliest indication. For example, if I'm walking down this site, my dog, well, let's say Cooper will notify me when he smells the person right before he notifies me that he's seen them. If he smells someone, I'll see the ears go up, I'll see the chest come out, and that's his first inkling to me is, I can smell something here. The second one is, I can see him. So I think if you watch a lot of my patrol training videos, obviously Cooper has done a lot of these training patrols, so he kind of understands what's going to happen. But if you actually watch him in that, is that his head's down and he's searching, but as soon as he sees the person, the ears go up and he stands up a little bit taller. So he's down and driving whilst he can smell the scent. But as soon as he sees them, the ears go up, the head comes up, the chest comes out, and then obviously we do the command. So the biggest clue for you on a dog on a 6 foot lead is the ears going up and the chest coming out, or where the dog starts to air scent, where he puts his nose up in the air and he starts sniffing around a little bit. That's the first key for you. Obviously, you have to remember about wind. Anyone that wants to understand about wind, that I have done a video on it. I personally think it's one of my better videos, my wind video. And although some people will look at it and say, well, you're giving the game away a little bit, I think that it will save more handlers than it will help thieves. And I think that it is a much more foolproof way of making sure that you don't get jumped. rather than anything else. So if you are interested, there's a security dog handler wind video. It does give the game away a little bit, but it will save more handlers from getting jumped than it is going to help anyone else. So but yeah, so like I say, the first inkling you've got is the dog's obviously ears, nose going up, chest coming out. Cooper do that when he first smells something, and then when he sees someone, I'll feel a bit more tension on the lead and he will start barking as well. So so yeah, you shouldn't really be walking up on anyone. Like I said, if you're walking up on someone, you're walking too close to corners, too close to doorways, and you're not giving yourself enough time to react if someone was to come out of any of them to want to cause you any harm. What are you up to? No. Give it 10-15 minutes and we'll get out. Problem is with this site being so small, I've got to walk past his van. I'm going to take the dog out. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. I've seen his dog, but I've not heard it since I got here. When I turned up, I didn't hear his dog, but I've seen it. I've seen he's had it out for a week, etc. I'm just hoping that he doesn't get out whilst I'm patrolling the dog. So hopefully I'll look and see that I'm not in the van. I got told some interesting stuff the other day about security staff fighting each other. I won't go into too much detail, but I heard about security staff having a punch up with each other, which is comical to say the least. Oh, there goes a rat. Well, we could have had a rat then. Yeah, I heard about some security staff having a punch up with each other. Well, someone else told me about something else the other day. I can't remember what it was now. Do you just train Cooper on his own, as mine seem to be distracted when I take all of them out? Like all of them training have gone out the window. Yes and no. So there will be certain things I'll be able to do with Coop. For example, off-lead obedience. If I've got a ball in my hand, Coop will ignore Ollie and we can do off-lead obedience. If I try and do anything with Ollie whilst Cooper's around, it's a write-off. As long as I've got a bigger reward with me than what Ollie is or the distraction is, I will have his attention. So whether that be a ball, a bite bar, a sleeve, a tug toy, whatever it is, as long as the value of the thing in my hand or the value of me is higher than the distraction, then I'll be able to do it. If the distraction is a higher value item to him, then I might as well be pissing into the wind, because it's not going to happen. So I have to make sure that I'm the highest value to Cooper at the time. So like I say, Cooper and Ollie, they get on. Again, Cooper tolerates Ollie probably more than likes him. Cooper tolerates him. I'll let them in the field and they'll both run around, do their thing. Ollie occasionally come up to Coop and want to do something, and Cooper just want to play ball, etc. So Coop tolerates him. So I think that I'm a higher value item than Ollie, because I will play ball with Cooper. Ollie won't play ball with Coop, because the moment the ball's involved, Cooper will bulldoze Ollie out the way in order to get the ball. So therefore, them two don't play ball together. So I'm a higher value than Ollie. So there'd be certain things that I can do. I can obviously play ball with Coop. I can play tug with Coop, whether that be a bite bar, a sleeve, whatever it is. If I want to play a little bit of tug with him, I can do article search work if I've got the ball reward, that he likes. So if I've got the ball and I do an article search, Cooper will search for them articles because he wants the ball that's in my hand, because the ball that's in my hand is a higher value item than wrestling with Ollie for a couple of minutes. So yeah, I can do certain things, but if when I try and do stuff with Ollie, I have to either have Coop in the van, or I have to take Ollie out separately and do stuff with him, because I've not really got a high value item for Ollie. I do have a tug that he does enjoy, but Cooper is a higher value item than me when we're all together. So I think it all depends on which dog it is. But in terms of Cooper, I'd say that I'm the highest value item, whether it's a ball, whether it's a tug or whatever, and Cooper can switch off to everything around. If I have a ball and I'm playing ball with Cooper, if Ada gets a ball and starts playing ball with Ollie, then that ball will become the higher value item, because if Cooper's got the ball already and another ball is thrown, that ball that's been thrown is higher value item to him to get both balls and then come back to me. Oh, hold on, got some people just turned up. Hold on a sec. Yes. Oh. So some other security that was just doing some checks outside the gate, but they walked all the way up to my gate, so I was just double checking that they was all right. Apparently similar, so it's nothing to do with what I'm looking after, but a similar site in this local area, they had someone with a balaclava come up and start rumbling around in the merchandise, etc. So they're just making a point of being around and being seen. So, but yeah. So has anyone got any last few questions? I think Coop wants to get out and go for a wee. I'll say there's not much for me to patrol here, and especially when there's two of us, etc. There's not much for me to patrol around here, but I probably need to get Coop out for a wee, etc. So if anyone's got any last couple of comments or last couple of questions, and then other than that, we'll kind of leave it there. I'm going to do 2 of these this week. What I'll probably do is I will do one on Thursday. So we'll do Monday and Thursday. So I'll do another one of these on Thursday night. So I'll the same as today. At some point during Thursday, I'll put it up because I don't want to commit to a certain time every week, because I never know. Like I say, if I'd done 7:30 today, I would have still been sorting out the other handler. So I don't want to commit to a time, but yeah, I'm going to do one of these on Thursday as well. Appreciate your time, mate. Enjoy your shift and the electric blanket. Well, I don't need the electric blanket because I've got a plug socket. I've got the hold on, I'll show you. I've got the heater down there, and then down here I've got the extension lead and my fridge. Actually, I don't even know if I'll show you the right thing, but yeah, I've got the and this is my light. that I use for mood lighting so that you can see me. So yeah, other than that, we will leave it there, and I will be back on Thursday. It will be 7:30, 8 o'clock, I would imagine, something like that. So yeah, as for now, hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below for loads more videos. Also, down in the description of this video is my Patreon. If you want to help support what I do for less than a happy meal a month, you can help support me do these videos, or not these videos, but help me to do videos, etc., and hopefully do some bigger and better things in the future and that. So yeah, that's down there if you want to go and look at that. There are also on the Patreon, there are other videos that are only on Patreon at the moment, so you'll get to see some other videos. Like I said in my last live, I put all of my protection work on Patreon now, to try to not be the reason that the public are learning to train dogs for protection that shouldn't be training dogs for protection. But other than that, I will see you guys on Thursday. As for now, I'll see you again on Thursday. Bye.